first at 9. This is Other Derana 24/7.
In tonight's headlines, Prime Minister calls for Sri Lankans in Australia to return. Health Minister calls for a report on SaitTm from heads of medical faculties. Students clash in Colombo, 15 arrested in connection. And in international headlines, India launches record 104 satellites to orbit. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana 24/7. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to News Tonight on this day, the 15th of February 2017. And thank you for making us a part of your evening. Now, a first look at the local stories. President Maithripala Sirisena calls scholars and intellectuals to come forward and take on the leadership in society to seek solutions to current social issues. The president was speaking at a ceremony to mark the 75th anniversary of Kegol Vidyalaya today. What we see today is that most of our intellectuals have limited their services to their assigned jobs. But they should use their knowledge for the upliftment of the society. They should not isolate themselves in society. They should win the society and take leadership. Only when they come forward in society that most issues can be easily solved. Therefore, we have to identify the challenges in this competitive society. Prime Minister Singha is on his second day in Australia, and he invited the illegal Sri Lankan migrants in Australia to return to the country. Premier Singha said this addressing a joint media briefing with his Australian counterpart Malcolm Turnbull today.
Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe, on a 4-day state visit to Australia, met Australian Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull at the Australian Parliamentary Complex. During the bilateral discussion, the two prime ministers paid special attention to sustaining diplomatic relations of 70 years. Later, the prime ministers witnessed the signing of 2 memoranda of understanding to strengthen sports and economic relations. Later, the two prime ministers addressed a joint media briefing.
The Sri Lankan Australian community has made an enormous contribution to Australia, the most successful multicultural society in the world, in fields as diverse as business, culture, education, law, medicine and sport. And they are part of the bedrock on which our bilateral relationship is built. Now, I mentioned sport just now, and we were also pleased to witness the signing of a memorandum of understanding between Sri Lanka and Australia to strengthen cooperation in sport. This will see exchanges of athletes, coaches, managers, health professionals, sports scientists, as well as sharing of anti-doping technology. Our close relationship and our many ties are only strengthened by our friendly competition on the cricket pitch, which we agreed was the only area in which we are rivalrous.
I do have a problem whether my delegation is full of officials or full of cricketers, since I have 2 cricketers on the delegation. But that at itself shows the friendship between Australia and Sri Lanka. We signed 2 important agreements today, one on economic development. But that was not complete without the one on sports. So Sri Lanka and Australia have shared a common past. There were many values.
You say your country is healing, but those people did leave. They don't want to come back. They'd rather remain in the camps for now. What's your message to your nationals?
Come back. All is forgiven. They left Sri Lanka illegally. They are welcome to return to Sri Lanka, and we won't prosecute them. So they can come back to Sri Lanka, and we will help them. But remember, they broke the law.
It's safe to do so, though, sir.
It's quite safe in Sri Lanka. We just start in the missing persons office. It's quite safe to come back, and some of them have gone from areas in which the conflict never took place. All of them are not even Tamils.
Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe later held discussions with Australian Foreign Minister Julie Bishop, Australia's Minister for Industry, Innovation and Science, Arthur Synodinos, Minister for Immigration and Border Protection, Peter Dutton, and the Leader of the Opposition, Bill Shorten.
In one of our headline stories, 9 students from 3 leading schools in Colombo are hospitalized due to injuries following 2 separate clashes today. 15 schoolboys were arrested by the Maradana and Borala police in connection with these incidents. Students from two leading schools in Colombo clashed today at two separate instances in the Maradana and Borala areas. 6 students who were injured during the clash were later admitted to the Colombo National Hospital. 2 buses, 2 school vans and a car were also damaged as a result of these clashes. Police say that an attack on a school bus carried out by students from the other school bus yesterday had led to the latest clashes. Meanwhile, 3 students have also been admitted to National Hospital in Colombo following a clash which involving prefects from another leading school in Colombo. Health Minister Rajitha Senaratne today said that heads of medical faculties agreed to provide a report on the quality and standards of South Asian Institute of Technology and Medicine within a period of 2 weeks. The minister said that the report will focus on a mechanism to improve the standards of the private medical college.
Minister of Health, Nutrition and Indigenous Medicine Rajitha Senaratne convened a meeting with deans of 8 state medical faculties to discuss matters pertaining to the SaitTm Private Medical College. Today's discussion followed decisions taken on SaitTm on Monday when the deans met with Minister of Higher Education Lakshman Kiriyalla, State Minister of Higher Education Mohan Lal Guerrero, Secretary to the Ministry of Higher Education and Chairman of University Grants Commission. Prior to attending today's discussion, Minister Rajitha Senaratne expressed views on the matter at the weekly cabinet media briefing.
SaitTm has accepted to hold admissions for 6 months. They have sent the proposal to Prime Minister and a copy to me. If they want, the government can take over the hospitals so that we can treat patients free of charge. The 1,000 beds there will be occupied. If not, the hospital can be operated as a public-private partnership.
However, Chairman of SaitTm Dr. Neville Fernando had this to say in response to the developments against his medical college.
The appeal court, in a very clearly defined given judgment in favor of our students and requested the SLMC to recognize, give these children provisional recognition. If they don't do that, the next step is to take to court for contempt of court, for which they will have to go to jail for 2 years. So we'll allow the law to proceed as it is. They have the right to go to the Supreme Court. Let them go there and then we will fight that case.
Meanwhile, the Inter-University Students' Federation of Ruhuna and Peradeniya Universities marched to Colombo in a rally to protest over the SaitTm issue. The Students' Federation of Colombo University also organised a rally demanding the closure of SaitTm. Black flags and banners continued to be hoisted at most government hospitals.
If the health minister is not adhering to recommendations of the medical council, that means the country does not have ethics. Minister Rajitha has become an agent for SaitTm. Minister Kiriyalla and Minister Rajitha, you all cannot solve the problem by threatening the medical council. This is a problem regarding the rights of a patient to live. In other local stories, the joint opposition accuses Finance Minister Ravi Karunanayake for losses of more than 6 billion rupees through a budget proposal on vehicle assembly. These comments by them were made during a media briefing held today.
Within
3.5 months, we have made 8 complaints against much powerful ministers of the current government. It is so unfortunate to see that they haven't even started preliminary investigations yet. We do not understand why the government would turn a blind eye to all of these allegations we have revealed before the country.
Unfortunately, it is Minister Ravi Karunanayake who holds the top 8th position. He also happens to be the one who faced many allegations before. The court had ruled out that those who want to avoid paying a large amount of tax are the ones who import used vehicle parts and assemble them here. Therefore, the court further ruled out that if somebody is importing used vehicle parts to assemble them in Sri Lanka, they should pay the full tax amount applicable to a complete vehicle. This is the 2016 budget proposal. It says that if there are vehicles which are assembled with used motor parts, then a penalty should be imposed for those vehicles before their registration. According to calculations made by Sri Lanka Customs, when spare parts are imported for assembly, one must only pay a tax of 66,126.8 million rupees. However, if one is importing an entire vehicle, they should pay a tax of 357 billion rupees, which means there has been a loss of more than 6,000 million rupees. So the Finance Minister has presented a circular before the Cabinet to obtain approval. I request the Cabinet not to do so. If Minister Ravi Karunanayake honestly believes that there has not been a fraud, I am challenging you to come for a public debate.
මෙතන වංචාවක් දූෂණයක් සිදු වී නැතයි කියලා. ඔබතුමා අවංකවම හිතනවා නම් එන්න මා සමග ප්‍රසිද්ධ විවාදයකට.
After a media briefing, representatives of the joint opposition made a formal complaint regarding the matter with the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption and also with the Criminal Investigations Department. However, in an earlier statement issued by the Ministry of Finance on the 9th of this month, it was stated that the decision to grant relief for a vehicle assembly plant was taken as per the advice of Attorney General. The statement further emphasized that Minister of Finance Ravi Karunanayake denounces and rejects allegations made by politicians who say he works towards providing relief to vehicle fraudsters.
Welcome back, everyone. Now we want to turn your attention to something that's creeping into our homes and to the minds of our children. Sometimes if you are a parent, you might not even be aware of. In today's day and age, smartphones, Facebook, Twitter and whatnot, children today spend more time online than actually engaging face-to-face. The World Wide Web is indeed something good, but lurking in the dark corners are issues that still needs a lot of discussions. I'm talking about cyberbullying, which is now reported from all corners of the world. Here in our Paradise Island, the issue is the same, as cyberbullying has become a problem that is far more than only a minor issue that we can just brush off. This menace has ended up with children and teens isolating themselves from the society or even leading to suicide. However, all is not lost. A Sri Lankan NGO foundation, Voice, started to fight against cyberbullying in Sri Lanka by going against the offenders, supporting the victims and spreading awareness across the public. Tonight, we at Other Derana wants to shed more light on this issue. Just keep in mind, the people appearing on this piece sharing their personal stories are a reenactment. However, the stories they tell is indeed the truth. Other Derana's Swan Mock picks up the story for us tonight.
I was really embarrassed. I couldn't face my family. I couldn't face my friends. I got depressed. I was really anxious, and I even thought of killing myself.
Several cases of cyberbullying happen every day in Sri Lanka, leading to instances where predominantly children and teens struggle under depression and anti-socialization. There are also reported cases of suicide.
I don't know. I lost my friends at school. I started to be afraid to go there.
We have started three main campaigns for this awareness. Number one is we are going to do an island-wide survey on social media to identify which kind of age groups and what kind of awareness they have about social media. We are planning an island-wide walk which will be coming on August 19 this year to bring awareness among parents with relates to cyber safety. And also we are planning to do a vast awareness programs on school level basis among younger children of how to handle social media.
People at work hacked into my account. They posted various inappropriate pictures on my account. I was bullied as a homosexual. Sometimes I called myself sick at work. It was very bad. I was afraid to tell my family because they will not understand, and I couldn't speak about this issue.
Although there are organizations fighting against cyberbullying, there's no law in Sri Lanka against such crimes, making it hard to catch the offenders. Lack of laws against cyberbullying, as well as the difficulty to identify offenders, is the biggest obstacle in dealing with the problem.
Well, there is a Cybercrimes Act, but not really relating to cyberbullying as well. So maybe this is a part of law that needs to be amended. India had a IT Act which specifically deals with cyberbullying. Sri Lanka can also have a specific law towards cyberbullying. One of the problems that actually come up when the investigation is done, so they find the IP address but they need to get the telephone numbers from the telecommunication providers. So there are certain providers who actually do give the information and certain providers who refuse to give the information. So at that point, the investigation stops.
Experts see the first step to preventing cyberbullying as safe engagement in social media and awareness on the right use of social media platforms.
I think as young parents, our biggest responsibility is to bring awareness to our kids about what cybermobbing is and how dangerous it could be. Also, the next thing I would say is continuous communication with your kids, why you are saying what you are saying, so that your kids begin to recognize that this is something dangerous. I believe if the parents begin to step up, we can begin to prevent our kids from falling prey to this nasty thing that is taking place right around our country and in the nations.
Well, let's get more in-depth analysis of this story. Joining me now is Shahani Alvi. She is an attorney at law. Shahani, you just saw in that piece where people are talking about issues, saying that they've been bullied, cyberbullied, and they've been saying that they felt very lonely. Now, why is Sri Lanka not catching up with its laws in order to curtail culprits of these crimes?
Well, actually, when there's cyberbullying or any sort of disreputation brought to someone, that falls under the law of defamation. Under the Sri Lankan law, sadly, the law pertaining to defamation is not codified. So it is the common law which applies, that is case law and precedent. However, the law with regard to defamation, what it requires is there must be some sort of action which injures the person's reputation, which can bring that person to either hatred or disrepute among the people. So in that case, it is important that the ingredients of a defamation be established to bring an action in any case of cyberbullying. However, the law with regard to the internet publications also is the same defamatory law which applies. That is the general defamatory law.
Exactly. Now, something that we have been seeing in the recent times is that, you know, a lot of people, not only teenagers and school children, but a lot of people, even celebrities here in Sri Lanka, especially politicians, being attacked, vigorously online, and yet they cannot do anything about it. So, what can a person who is being cyberbullied can do right now?
Well, actually, it's not that they can't do anything about it. They can definitely file an action for defamation to claim their rights, to claim damages which has occurred to them. However, the problem with regard to defamation action in Sri Lanka is it has still not been decided. We still don't have cases which have come up to develop the law in that area. So either there needs to be some codification, but we have enough and more laws regulating the publication in papers. But with regard to internet publications, what is important is to bring an action against primary publishers, that means who publish on Facebook, who defame on Facebook, and also you can bring actions against secondary publishers, those who even share those publications, and also anyone who reposts a publication, a YouTube video, we can bring an action. However, the problem is that there is no law which is, since it's common law which applies, the law needs to, we need to look into this matter, and we need to have case law. A strong set of case law will enable anyone who's being bullied like this or who's being defamed online on media to be brought before a judge and to claim their rights and to claim damages for the loss which has occurred to them.
Certainly, indeed, there's so much of things that needs to be done in order to bring Sri Lanka up to date with regard to our laws, with regard to cyberbullying and other cyber crimes. Well, Shahani, always, that's all the time we have. Thank you very much for joining us. It's indeed a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you very much.
Let's move on to business news. In business news, the Cabinet has approved a proposal to reduce the special commodity levy on imported coconut oil from 150 rupees to 130 rupees per kilogram and palm oil from 130 rupees to 110 rupees per kilogram. The Cabinet has also approved a proposal to import 40,000 metric tons of coconut oil to control prices in the market. Time now to take a look at the stock market update.
The benchmark all-share price index gained 26.56 points to close at 6,175.5, while the S&P Sri Lanka 20 index gained 12.98 points to close at 3,545.91. The turnover was 876.29 million rupees, with 14.06 million shares changing hands in 3,426 trades. The market capitalization at the end of the day was 2,722.54 billion rupees. Top 5 gainers of the day were Blue Diamonds, Non-Voting, Trade Finance, SNB Leasing, Hapuga Standard Plantations and Equity 2, while the top 5 losers were Commercial Leasing and Finance, Odell, Blue Diamonds, Test Agro and Asia Asset. Today's foreign purchases was 167.17 million rupees and foreign sales were 189.49 million rupees. There were 2 crossings and the crossings turnover was 653.77 million rupees.
Meanwhile, at the Treasury bill auction today, yields increased across the board. 3-month Treasury rate increased by 6 basis points to 9.22% and 6-month Treasury rate was up to 5 basis points to 10.12%. 1-year Treasury bill yield increased to 10.55%. CBSL offered Treasury bills worth of 25.5 billion rupees. An auction was oversubscribed by over 2 times, with bids receiving amounting to 53.1 billion rupees. It was decided to accept 21.8 billion rupees worth of Treasury bills. Let's now take a look at the currency rate for today. While senior citizens are able to deposit up to 1.5 million rupees under the special interest scheme of 15% effective from the 1st of March. Issuing a statement today, the Finance Ministry said the upper limit to pay 15% special interest on fixed deposits maintained by senior citizens has been increased. Currently, senior citizens are able to obtain 15% interest rate for fixed deposit up to a limit of 1 million rupees. In the budget 2015, under the 100-day program, government introduced a 15% special interest scheme for senior citizens, fixed deposits maintained by senior citizens over the age of 60 years. Quickly moving on to sports news now. The T20 practice match between Sri Lanka and Australia's Prime Minister's 11 team was held today. Sri Lankans succeeded in the match, defeating the host by 5 wickets.
Winning the toss and electing to bowl, the Sri Lankans allowed the Prime Minister's 11 to only score 169 runs for the loss of 6 wickets at the end of 20 overs. After returning from an injury, Lasith Malinga picked a wicket for 26 runs, while Vikum Sanjay picked 3 wickets for 26. Chasing a score of 170, the Sri Lankan team was able to achieve the target within 70 overs and 1 ball. Captain Upul Taranga scored 47 of 33 balls, while Niroshan Dikwala scored 47 of 26 balls.
A really good performance.
In international news, the Indian Space Research Organisation today set the record for most satellites launched in a single mission. A total of 104 satellites were launched, overtaking the previous record of 37 set by Russia in 2014. The operation took place this morning at the Satish Dhawan Space Centre in Sriharikot in South India. This was the India Space Research Organisation's first space mission for 2017 and was reported to be the most complicated mission it had ever accomplished. The satellites took off at 9:28 a.m. Indian time and 6 minutes later it has safely reached orbit. According to ISRO, all satellites were successfully released into orbit by 10 a.m. The success was followed by congratulatory messages from the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Pranab Mukherjee.
The stage will complete its task, burn out and separate. तक जाता हुआ इस समय separated. Now the first stage is functioning on its own alone.
On to the weather forecast for tomorrow now. Fairly strong gusty winds are expected over the country and surrounding sea areas up to 60 kilometers per hour. Several spells of showers will occur in the north central, eastern and Uva provinces and in the Hambantota district. Showers or thunder showers are likely at a few places in the western, Sabaragamu and southern provinces, particularly in the afternoon hours. There may be temporary localized strong winds during thunder showers as well. If you are travelling or finding yourself outdoors, be aware of lightning activity and take precautionary measures to be safe. Here's your city by city forecast. Well, that is a part of your world tonight right here on Other Derana 24/7. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Mahesh Johnny. Good night.
Bringing you the news and information 24 hours a day. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana 24/7.